What'd you make out with the first considerations that we need to think about when deciding if we should sue or not sue our employer for workplace abuse and bullying? The top 5, there are 10 of them. We did the top 5, so if you missed it, go ahead and go back, take a look at episode 1 of Legally Speaking. Simply jot down the pros and the cons of each for you. Now I say for you because 2 cases are not the same and everyone's threshold is very different. So I'm really interested in knowing, what are your thoughts? How did you score? So now let's round out the top 10 list of issues to consider. Number 6, this is another doozy, time commitment. You know, litigation, as earlier mentioned, can take months or even years. You really need to assess if you have the time and the patience for this process. It is an emotional roller coaster, And here's an example. Imagine sending your complaint outlining all of the egregious behaviors. The defense, the company you're suing, has your evidence. They have your text, your emails, your recordings, everything, right? All your receipts. The defendant company files its response and maybe a counterclaim against you. Oh yes, it could happen. They're going to set forth their view of their case. And trust me, they are spending and will spend a lot of money, sometimes millions of dollars, and a lot of billable hours speaking with human resources. Maybe people who work with you, maybe some of your potential witnesses. They're gonna do their due diligence, right? They're going to create a narrative, their side of the story, and get ready for it, because when you read it or even hear it, it will likely be filled with a lot of loose holes and perhaps some straight out lies. I said it. Remember, you too are adversaries. The company is going to, of course, deny your claim on paper, and then they're going to lay out their case against you during depositions, if you actually get that far. They are going to share some ridiculous story about you, like how you spoke to someone, or how you were insubordinate, how you're always on the phone, or they can never find you, you're always in the bathroom, or that you were late all the time, or how about this one? You were coming to work unprepared. But research shows, let me be clear, research shows that whistleblowers are the ones who truly value their work. You're the ethical one. You like to collaborate with others and are being treated fairly. The sad part is that most companies are filled with a lot of narcissists who fear your presence is going to outshine them and really uncover the fact that they're really not that great at what they do. All of the bullies are covering for one another. So when you get that response, be prepared to be upset, because they are going to paint a picture of you that's not good, that you were not a good employee. Oh yes. So what? You had 20 years of fabulous 5-star performance reviews over the years. Because this year, you decided you're going to go rogue and you're going to fail to perform. Oh yeah, get ready for it. That is going to be their story. Now, the emotional bandwidth that you need is going to be astronomical. You're going to be upset. You're going to be mad. You're going to be angry. You might be in a fit of rage when you see in black and white on paper how they describe you, both as a person and as an employee. Get ready for it. It will literally pierce your spirit and your soul. Let me be clear. While you're seeking truth and justice, they are not. They're not there to litigate the truth, necessarily, and have a meeting of the minds and admit that they played a role in why you're now adversaries. They're never going to say, we're sorry. They're there to protect the company. So you will be reading some incredible stories about yourself. Some made up, some straight out lies. I said it. You will have an out-of-body experience that can take you to the depths of insanity. And if you think the trauma that you experienced in the workplace was unconscionable, just wait. Because you're going to hear what I call the Shonda Rhimes script about your life that you never knew existed. So you really have to weigh the cost of being traumatized all over again. Even if you're on the other side of your healing journey, I promise you there will be a lot of late night discussions into the wee hours of the morning with your spouse, your partner, your friends. And all of them will likely say, I can't believe they said that about you. But they will. They will. So be prepared. The effects from this process, I believe, is an offense to your humanity. So again, you really have to weigh the emotional cost. Is it worth your peace? Number 7, consider the likelihood of success by weighing the risks and the rewards. Again, your attorney hopefully will gingerly walk you through the civil procedure of the case, meaning the timelines that include filings and all of the benchmark processes along the way. So what I suggest, and what I have done for a number of people who I counsel and mentor, is ask your attorney, what is the legal standard that must be proved for me to win in a court of law? And once you know that, you'll get your answer pretty quickly, because there will come a point in time where both sides will need to submit their summary judgment based on the stories that both sides have presented with their evidence. And they will ask a judge to rule in their favor. Your attorney on your side, of course, and the defense attorney for the company, meaning your evidence supports proving the legal standard. The defense will say, your evidence doesn't meet the legal standard, so there's no need for a jury trial. Let's just end this altogether right now, judge. The judge will read both briefs and make a decision whether or not you go to a jury trial. In my case, I filed for racial discrimination. And it can only be proven if someone calls you the N-word based on 1964 federal laws. Now, I didn't have that. But we know that discrimination is much more than just calling me the N-word. But legally, that's what proves racial discrimination. Legally. So again, I had to weigh the risk and the reward of moving forward. It was a huge risk to believe that a judge is going to rule in my favor, even though a reasonable person would assess all of my evidence and find that I have been discriminated against. We know what discrimination is. Whether or not you're LGBTQ, a woman, have a disability, we know what discrimination looks like. However, again, does it meet the legal standard? A company may or may not even offer a settlement, and let me be clear, they're not obligated to do so. And they know it, because the laws don't force them to do so. However, they would rather spend millions of dollars fighting you, exhausting you, humiliating you, than to admit they did anything wrong and have to settle. Money is the currency. For them, it's not about justice. Your attorney should be able to share with you if your case is weak, if it will likely go to trial, or the company will offer a settlement that could come with some strings attached, like signing an NDA, promising to never talk about the case. In other words, take the money and keep your mouth shut. Now for me, it was always about the truth. So I weighed the risks and the rewards. The risk of not ever being able to tell my truth about my experience simply was not one I was willing to take. My reward, however, is being able to assist others in guiding you through the process so you can better assess if you should sue or just keep it moving. Figure out another way to seek justice, because justice is defined by the person who seeks it. This is why End Workplace Abuse is working so hard to pass the Workplace Psychological Safety Act, because the system is rigged for employees to not get justice. Think about it. How many cases have you heard where people have actually won a racial discrimination lawsuit, a harassment lawsuit, or workplace bullying? Not many, because the system is rigged against the employee. Now, the 8th aspect to consider is that even if you win, will the judgment be enforceable? Meaning, will the defendant be able to pay? Enforceability of judgment. Now, of course, collecting a judgment can be challenging. The most recent and notorious is former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani's defamation case. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but there's plenty of information out there. You probably have heard about it and know about it. We all know he was sued for defaming 2 women, a mother and a daughter, for what he claimed was fraudulent acts during counting of the votes for the presidential election. The mother and daughter won. Now, if you're suing a company, they of course have deep pockets. In fact, as part of the discovery process, where both sides are swapping evidence like documents, recordings, texts, etc., whatever it is, your attorney will also likely ask the defendant company the maximum of their insurance policy. Now, this is going to give your attorney an idea of the threshold when laying out how much you're asking to recover. Number 9, there's also the ADR, the Alternative Dispute Resolution. This is mediation or arbitration, which can be the fastest and the cheapest way to settle your dispute instead of going to court. The money and the years that it takes to pursue a court case. Now, the mediation could happen during the EEOC, but maybe not. Maybe not. Now, some courts may require you to mediate or even arbitrate your claim before you even file a lawsuit. But just make sure that you check those requirements for your city and or your state. But there are ways to perhaps settle with your company without having to go through the time and the commitment and the cost of a lawsuit. And number 10, reputation and publicity. The last one to consider is the potential impact on your personal or business reputation if the lawsuit becomes widely publicized. Now, as someone who has lived in the public eye for 35 years, the decision for me to go public was heavily discussed, as you can imagine. My husband and I were intentional. We had to think about the pros and the cons, as we do with a lot of things in life, and also the potential ramifications for my family as well as for my friends. And as I've said before and have always said and will continue to say, as a journalist, it was important for me to honor my professional obligation. We are to hold institutions, corporations, politicians, and government agencies accountable. And for me, it would have been professionally unethical to just walk away without sounding the alarm and telling people about what happened, because I don't want it to happen to anyone else. As you can imagine, going through this fight, I was isolated, trying to figure it all out by myself. And while I knew that some people would question the validity of my claims, which is to be expected, I really wasn't prepared to be followed around by an investigator. To witness and hear a litany of, I don't recall, during the depositions, and even flat out lies. Nor did I ever expect the station to retaliate and harass me and sully my reputation by connecting me to an alleged fraud story 4 years after I walked away from the station. More details about that is available on previous posts. You can read about that and look it up. But suffice to say, there's always the possibility that your story will be covered by the press. Again, mine was. In all of the local papers, even a national paper, my story has been out there for a while. But again, only you can weigh the cost. Only you can weigh the cost. That is something that you have to talk about and decide with your family and your friends. And maybe it won't get picked up. You just never know. You'll never know how you're going to even react until you're in this process. So please take your time as you conduct your research to determine if and how you will proceed. How many times have you said to someone, if I were you, I've been there. We've all been there. Well, it's really easy for us to say that when you're not actually the one dealing with the potential fallout. But when you're in it, it's a whole nother story. When you're in it, it's another story to consider. I pray this has been helpful for you. And please feel free to leave a comment, ask your questions. I will definitely respond. It may not happen immediately, but I promise I will get to you. And along with EWA, we really want to arm you with tangible tools to use as a guide to help make the best decisions for you, for yourself, and for your family. This is your case. This is your life. This is your story. This is your story. Now, coming up, we're going to be talking with employment attorneys, career coaches, therapists, and other people as we dissect other legal cases to educate and to raise awareness about why do we need a law to protect employees' rights? Why do we need it? We're going to prove to you why it's desperately needed. And again, as I always say, if nobody believes your story, I do. If nobody believes your story about workplace bullying and abuse, I do, because I've been there and it's real. So if nobody believes your story, I do. I see you and I hear you. And thriving in life is our birthright. We'll see you next time on Legally Speaking with EWA.